Question 5, we are dealing with rational functions. Rational functions means that there's a fraction, and we could get vertical asymptotes, or something that's called a pole. It's where the denominator is 0, and it's really a boundary in the function that the graph of the function approaches. So we're dealing with a pen next to a barn, and we don't know what the dimensions are, but we know that it has to have an area of 80 square feet. So if you look to these pictures, it really could be any of these. All of these have a square footage of 80, but they have different dimensions. So we don't know what that's going to be. So they do give us the function for the amount of fence required. So 2w comes from the fact that there's two widths, and 80 over w comes from the fact that that is the length, and it's only one of them because the side that's with the barn doesn't have a fence. So if we graph that on the calculator, then we get something that looks like this. Let's look at part B. So it says, explain in practical terms the behavior of the graph near the pole at w is equal to 0. So if you actually use the table settings, so table settings, and if you change the delta table to 0.001, then we can actually have very small increments. And if we plug in something like 0.005, or if you look at that into the function, then we get 16,000. If we plug in 0.003, then I get 26,000. If I plug in 0.001, then I'm all the way up to 80,000. And you'll notice that as my number gets smaller and smaller, or closer and closer to 0, the y value, or in this case the f value, is getting higher and higher. So we need to say something like that here. Let me write that up here. So as the width gets smaller and smaller, then the amount of fence gets larger and larger. So this would be because, well, kind of like this picture here, but to the extreme. If you picture a very super long fence but with a very skinny width, then that would kind of be the scenario that they're talking about here. Let's look at part C. I want to use a calc min, and I want to kind of calculate the minimum that is here. So if we do that, then you should get 6.32 and 25.30. So this is a W value, this is a F value. So the W, this is your width of your fence. F is the total amount of fencing, and it wants us to determine the dimensions of the rectangle. So I still need the length. So if you just take, they say in the problem that the length is 80 divided by W. So I just take 80 divided by W, which I know is 6.32, and I get 12.66. So my dimensions are 6.32 feet by 12.66 feet. And the total amount of fencing will be the 25.3.